Just so every one of our listeners knows, we both have had a really long work day on a Monday. And I was telling a colleague today, I was like, I feel like today's Friday afternoon. You're in for a good discussion today. Welcome back to We Should Do This More Often. I'm Andrea. I don't know what's wrong.
Ashley. And in today's conversation, it's going to be a little bit heavier than usual because there's just the stuff going on this week. We all know what it is. We can't ignore. We've just got to talk about it.
This past week has been really heavy. This week, we had 3 national tragedies that all happened, and 2 of the 3 were displayed on feeds, right? So we had the Irina who was killed on, I think it was a subway.
It was like a rail car.
And that was horrific to watch. Not that we actively sought to watch it, but it just seemed to be, it just shows up now. Charlie Kirk and his passing, and then yet another school shooting. And Ashley, you know, that just, the teacher in me, that really upsets me that we are still enduring school shootings.
And it is overwhelming because what we're really talking about here is trauma, and not just for the families that were impacted directly, for all of us who are just scrolling and suddenly watching the final moments of someone without any warning. It's too much. I just don't think it's something that our souls were made to hold at this level.
We're going to talk a little bit deeper about this weight that a lot of us are feeling. And we really just want to be able to have a conversation about how to guard our minds and our hearts without shutting down our compassion. Your body cannot tell the difference between watching something on screen versus seeing it in real life. That's another reason why there's alarming statistics about children who have underdeveloped brains, and they are engaging in combat on video games and stuff, and it desensitizes the way that we view death. And so, Ashley, I thought it was interesting, before we dive into how to handle this spiritually, a little bit of the research behind this is the American Psychological Association has found that repeated exposure to violent images, even online, even if you weren't there in person, can cause PTSD-like symptoms. People are showing signs of anxiety, nightmares, intrusive thoughts just from what they're consuming on their phones. And here's something that really hit me. The average person now spends over 2.5 hours a day on social media. That means in a single week, we are taking in more traumatic content than most people would have encountered in their entire lifetime 20 years ago. No wonder we feel overwhelmed. No wonder we feel this sense of anxiety. And in 1 week, we watched 3 tragedies.
Actually,
graphically, yes. That was the most graphic. And that's another conversation we need to have because, you know, my son pulled his phone up and he was the one that showed me Charlie Kirk. And I was floored at what I saw.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I said, did you search for this? He goes, no, it was just on my YouTube shorts. And so, because he listens to like music or whatever when he's cleaning his room or doing his homework, and he just slides it up. And he was like, it was just on there. So just that in itself is alarming.
Yeah.
That in itself.
I know that the actual news stations weren't showing the full video, and you don't want to, we're not trying to belittle it, because regardless of if we saw it or not, it was tragic, it was wrong. Both, all 3 of these instances lately, but really it's become this pattern. You know, we saw the images when Hamas attacked Israel a couple of years ago. Those images were horrible. But I think even then there used to be a trigger warning or a warning that an image or a video would be graphic. When I saw the videos of Charlie and Irina, I was on Twitter and I was just scrolling. I was trying to figure out, I was looking for things that happened with Charlie. When I saw his, there was no warning. I thought the video was going to end where the news was ending it. It did not. And I'm just going to be like transparent. It made me physically ill. It made me physically ill, and not even because of who it was, because we're not going to go political in this episode. This is just the facts of seeing death. And my first instinct was physical sickness and tears, because and I discussed this with a family member earlier this week. Number one, 20 years ago, if someone had seen what we all saw Wednesday, I think it was Wednesday,
all throughout the week,
if we had seen these things 20 years ago, we would be sent to therapy. No joke, without a question. You would have been traumatized, and we're all seeing it almost in real time as it's happening, because there is no place you can go now where something will happen that it's not filmed. And that's good for some things, but other things, it's like, man, the people posting, and this is not a soapbox of being angry with people, but it comes down, for me, to human dignity. One of my family members is a healthcare worker, and I am myself, but I'm more on the administrative end. But she's actually worked one-on-one with patients, and she admitted, she was like, I'm a little desensitized. I've seen things like brain matter and stuff like that, just in the hospital setting, and I get that. But here's my thing: this was two somebody's, and countless others' last moments of life. They didn't get to choose if their most vulnerable moments were displayed on a national or world stage. They didn't get to choose that. People are posting these images. You don't know if the family even knows what's happened, that person has passed. But it's just out there for everyone to consume. And that, to me, that is human indecency. There was a guy that I was friends with on Facebook. I just went to high school with him. He's not anybody that was ever close to me. But a few years ago, they found a body behind his apartment complex that was like sort of just floating in a lake area back there that had passed away, and the police were pulling the body out, and he took a picture and posted it on Facebook, and you could clearly see that whoever that individual was deceased, floating face down. And I just thought, that's so dehumanizing. It is so it's that, to me, it's like that last moment of vulnerability, and you should get to choose who gets to see you in that state and who doesn't. That should be a little bit more sacred than I think our culture is allowing it to be. And that's a personal opinion, but that's the feelings that I get from it.
No, it's alarming when you have to explain to your children what they just saw. Also, my oldest son was like, Mom, it's not that big of a deal. And I'm like, but then I had to start thinking, our kids see so many horrible things, and they become desensitized by these events. And it makes us need to question ourselves. Like, I feel like everyone's made everything really political, and it really needs to be like, what are we doing to safeguard ourselves? Because I'm like you, Ashley, like Irina, say her family is like in Ukraine, and is that the first way that they found out about her death was social media? Like, you know what I mean? Like, or Charlie Kirk's children one day, want to, just like normal kids, they're curious about where they come from, and they Google search it, and they get to see their dad killed on film. And I was even telling Ashley before we started the podcast, like, there was a school shooting down the road from one of the schools that I support here in Tennessee, and so they released the body cam footage, and everyone watched it, and they did blur stuff out, but watching it, like, you could tell that was a little person, a little body. That was a kid. And for me, that really, kids shouldn't fear going to school. Like, if there's one safe place for you, it is at school. And, even though they blurred that content out, like, a parent still could get on that feed, see that body cam footage, and see that was a child. And what if it was their child?
They recognize those shoes. They recognize that shirt that they put them in the car in this morning, when they drove them to school. So I told y'all this was going to be heavy.
But we got to do better. I don't know what the answer is. I feel like everyone is just pointing fingers right now, but really there's a greater message behind this all. And I get truth is truth, and everyone wants the facts, and everyone wants to see stuff in real time because nobody believes anything anymore. And I get that. But at the same time, I don't want my kids to see that.
No.
I don't want someone else's kids to see that and then have this morphed mentality of like, oh, like on a game, you can shoot and kill someone and then they just revive. Like, that's...
Yeah, and this was my question to my family member. She really didn't... I don't think she was getting my point about just the dignity of it and the lack of it when we do stuff like that, just because she's used to seeing stuff. And I get it, you all. Even from an administrative perspective, I've seen things in hospitals. But what got her is when I looked at her, because she has a daughter that's my age, and I said to her, what if that was your daughter? What if that video of Kirk or of Irina or of that little girl or one of those people during that attack a couple of years ago, or any of the numerous videos that we've seen, horrific videos, what if that was your child? What if that was your mother? What if that was your sister? What if that was your brother? It puts it into a completely different context, because what we are doing is dehumanizing people when we look at it the way that she was looking at it. And she wasn't doing anything wrong. She was doing something that I think we've all naturally just sort of adapted to make it through seeing stuff like this. There should at least be a warning. And I think, like, I get, okay, this is America and freedom of speech and put everything out there, and I get all that, I do, but there should be a warning so that if you choose to not put that on you, you shouldn't have to. Like, I even remember during COVID, During COVID, do you remember how much news? I mean, it was one thing after another. They'd have you terrified, and then they'd have you thinking there wasn't no big deal about some of it. And then they'd say, well, you've got to stay 6 feet apart. And then, every day it was something different. Every single day you couldn't keep up. But I had gotten myself in a place where I was watching the news so carefully and so consistently that I started going into depression. And it wasn't that the coronavirus is out there and that, I'm not allowed to see people. It actually wasn't that. It was the news. And I had a friend of mine look at me and say, Ashley, quit watching it. And it was like, I could just quit watching it. And so I'll be honest with you all, I don't. Because of that, I probably should keep up with more current events than I do as a Christian, as a patriotic woman. But I don't, because nothing on the news is ever good. I mean, the vast majority of it is normally like terrible stuff. So I don't watch it as closely as I need to. If there's something that I need to figure out, I'll go research it. Like if I hear a little something. The only reason I even knew about Charlie Kirk to go look is because my sister texted me and said someone has just shot Charlie Kirk. So I probably need to find a better middle ground for that. But I do think...
Hey, I didn't even know who he was. And the first time I saw him was that video. I was like, oh my gosh. I had no idea who he was. My son had to tell me.
Yeah. So this is where I think we have to make some serious decisions online. And I keep coming back to this scripture because I think God knew how much our minds would shape our peace. And Philippians 4:8 tells us, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. You have to make an active, conscious decision. Doesn't mean ignoring pain. It doesn't mean ignoring grief. I want to make that very clear. As Christians, we are really, really bad about sweeping our feelings under a rug and pretending. This is not about pretending. But when you are in the moment and you just cannot deal, our focus should be on godly things. That should be our main focus. Even with like the world's tragedies and stuff going on, you can do both at the same time. You really can. You can recognize, gosh, there is just pure evil, guys. And that's what all this is. It's pure evil. And it shouldn't matter what side of the political line you're on. It's evil. Taking someone else's life, no matter for what reason, is evil. And celebrating it is evil. But we can't ignore pain, but we need to fill our mind. I have another scripture here that says Romans 8:12-21 says, do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. One of the most powerful things that we can do is to refuse to let evil keep replaying in our minds. And I know how hard that is because trust me, there have been many times where I've just been sitting for a moment in idleness and I'll replay one of these that I saw over the past week, because these are probably, I'm just going to be honest, these might be the most horrific that I've personally ever seen. And I've had to very quickly stop and say a prayer, stop and maybe crank up my worship music a little bit louder and focus on that instead. But we've got some practical ways that we've come up with to try to help us guard our hearts and our souls.
Yeah, so you can curate your feed. You can choose some of the things that you don't want to see. Like I kept having something pop up a couple of months ago, and I learned how you can curate your feed so that you don't see things like that all the time. It's not a part of your algorithm. pause before watching. It is hard on social media or YouTube or whatever, it'll just start playing, but really pausing it before and really thinking, like, is this a safe thing for me to watch? Because I do believe that when we let evil inside our minds, I mean, you're replacing, we're not supposed to see things like this. We're not. And also the doom scrolling, because I mean, like I had to get off Facebook because I was like, it was just, people are fighting, people are arguing, people are like blaming sides, choosing sides, celebrating someone's death, not pointing a finger. I mean, it's too much. So, I mean, just replace the doom scrolling with prayer. I've been reading a new book that I got, and it's all about a positive mindset. And that's been filling my bucket up this week. And just, Ashley, when you were talking about like 2.5 hours with screen time a day, like, just think about what you could do during that time. Think about what you could do for 2.5 hours every single day instead of just doom scrolling. And then also talk it out. I mean, I know my family, we had to have a coming to Jesus moment and talk it out and say, hey, I don't think we need to be on YouTube or kids' YouTube right now. Your older brother just saw something. We really need to guard our hearts a little bit closer and really fill them with positive thoughts and positive images, or even fill ourselves up with the word of Christ. But yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, Ashley, with like, when we become consumed with watching certain things, it can cause anxiety. It can cause depression. It can put you in this place that mentally you weren't supposed to be in. And it was all because of seeing something on a screen.
Yep. And also, guys, give yourselves permission to feel shaken. Don't feel shameful over it. I think that we try to act too tough sometimes. It should be a big deal. Seeing something like that should be a big deal. It doesn't mean you're being dramatic. It should shake you because it's that gross and evil.
This week, whenever you catch yourself going on a tailspin on social media, doom scrolling, watching different news coverage of all of these devastating acts, just in that moment, I challenge you this week to just stop and just say a short prayer, okay? Get your heart right. You can pray for peace, because we need a little bit more peace. We need to be praying for peace, to pray for dignity, human dignity, because like Ashley said, those were people's final moments. And if you've ever watched someone die, I mean, I know I have, I know you have, Ashley. I mean, those last few moments, those last few days, few hours, that's not how someone wants to be remembered. So pray for that. And also to give others compassion. Like, hey, are you okay? Don't just assume that someone needs to be tough and not be bothered. I mean, honestly, I was a teacher. So anytime I hear a school shooting, I am immediately taken back to gun violence that occurred in my school that I previously taught at. I think that's natural. So just reach out to your people and ask, like, hey, are you okay? The world kind of sucks right now. Can I just pray for you? Or just let someone know I'm praying for you.
Thank you guys so much for sitting with us today. The world has been loud and heavy, and these moments of slowing down are a way to remind us that we don't have to become numb.
And if this episode resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Feel free to share it with friends and family, because if it resonates with you, that heaviness that you've been carrying, I'm sure other people around you are as well. So just share it. Put your heart out there. We need to be guarding our hearts right now. We need to be celebrating the good things in life as well, instead of just going down this spiral of all of this bad and sad. And If you have a story, an uplifting story, and you would like to share, please reach out to us, because we've had a couple of people reach out with some really good stories, and we're already mapping out season 2. And we're really excited to share some of the voices that others have been so courageous in letting us borrow and use for the podcast.
And so you can send us those stories or your thoughts to we should do this podcast at gmail.com, because your story matters. We say it every week. Don't forget to follow us on social media. It's Instagram at We Should Do This Podcast, and on TikTok at We Should Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe. Stop right now. Subscribe. Don't miss another episode.
And even though the world feels really heavy right now, and it does, give yourself some grace. God is still so good, and He is still in control. We all are on this earth for a reason.
So this was a really hard conversation today, but I think it was important that we made room and space together to talk about this.
And that's why this space exists, because we should do this more often.